Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your true hill phenom, SP3. We are live on the Sportskeeda by Wrestle Binge YouTube channel, as well as the Sportskeeda Facebook for another edition of Smack Talk, our WWE SmackDown review show with the one and only, the legend himself, the best mustache in wrestling today, tomorrow, and in the past. He is Dutch Mantell.
Well, thank you, thank you. Hey, what show is this numbered? Do you have
Uh,
any idea?
they don't number the Smack Talk, so I couldn't even give you
What?
that. But we've
What
been doing
the?
we've been doing this since 2021. Dutch. 2021 was when you joined the
I
show.
hadn't been here that long though. I
Yes, you
don't
have.
think. I've
Yeah,
been here
because
3 years.
remember, Dutch, the first podcast we ever did together was the preview for WrestleMania 37, and we just passed WrestleMania 40.
Really? I don't
Yep.
remember that. Of course,
Yes.
I don't remember a lot of things. After you get hit on the head a couple 100,000 times, brother, you're in Zoom land. So, let's get started. I'm ready to talk about some wrestling.
So, yes, folks, we're going to be talking about tonight's WWE SmackDown, the May 31st edition of WWE SmackDown, coming off the heels of WWE King and Queen of the Ring last Saturday. We're also going to be talking about huge news throughout WWE, like TNA, possibly in a partnership with WWE after TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace showed up on NXT, what that means, and what's Dutch's opinion on it, since he has worked with both companies. We're also going to talk about big news in the Vince McMahon lawsuit, as it has been put on pause as the U.S. government does investigations on Vince McMahon. But we're going to talk about all that stuff after we talk about the big angle on SmackDown tonight, because the show was centered around AJ Styles addressing his future. So we're going to get into that first. But before we get into that, a reminder to all of y'all, the simplest thing you could do to help us out: drop the thumbs up on this video. If you're watching us on YouTube, you could drop a thumbs up, a heart emoji, a laugh emoji, an angry emoji, however tonight's SmackDown made you feel. If you're watching us on Facebook, most of all, you could sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you. We'll try to highlight a few comments throughout this stream, but to make sure your comment is highlighted on screen, you can send a super chat donation. If you got a question, you got a hot take that you want to hear Dutch Mantell's opinion on it, send
Yep.
that super chat donation. That's the best way to do it.
What are you saying, folks? Is come off that water a little bit. How about sending us some damn money? Think we do this for our health? But I used to go up and down the road and got nothing for it for years and years and years. And very interesting conversations with the other guys, and we'd be talking back and forth. And I don't know if that's how podcasts got started, but I thought one time, I said, I wonder, this would be interesting to other people, because we would just talk and talk and talk. And some of my greatest ideas I've got late at night by myself or with somebody else, and going down the road. And some of my greatest ideas I got that way. Of course, I got a lot of bad ones too, but I won't talk about those.
Well, we let that slide. We let that slide though.
So
We got
before we get started, rate the show tonight. Rate SmackDown tonight. What do you think it was?
I would give it a 7.5. I thought this was a good show. I thought that, I liked how they basically set up the show closing angle, the big focus of the show throughout the show. With the first segment, we're going to talk about how they broke it down and spread it out throughout the night. I thought that was great. I thought the Bloodline stuff with Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman was great. So I would even lean maybe 7.5, maybe possibly an 8 after we go over it for tonight.
Wow. It was a good show. And I really enjoy shows where I know what's it's set up, but still, they told that story with AJ, and I began to believe that, hey, that bastard might be retiring, and this is his way to go out.
They sold you a bill of goods.
They did, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker, and they're still reeling me in, but they did a really, really good job with it. So. But it just goes to show you, if you know what you're doing, you know what your objective is, and go do it. Because all you got to do is just convince, and wrestling fans are the most skeptical in the world anyway. But they reeled me in on this one, and I enjoyed it because I enjoy being a fan. Because I never enjoyed, but I should have slapped myself when I saw Cody going out there without the belt. Because the belt had nothing to do with it, but he went out there and I said, "Wait a minute, why is he showing up without the belt?" But they did a great job. I think on all of it. The star of tonight was AJ. I think Cody too. And who's Piper Niven's partner? What's her name?
Chelsea Green. And I know you were happy with that, Chelsea Green.
I love her.
And you got a lot of LA Knight on this show as well. So
yeah.
you were in heaven on this show.
Yeah,
where do you rate it? What number between 0 to 10? Where did you rate it?
You're always underneath me.
Yeah.
Always. So I'm gonna go. You went 8. I'll go 8.5.
There we go. There we go. And see, this is why, Dutch, the people watch SmackDown talk. I think on this channel especially, you're gonna see difference of opinions between me and Dutch. Some things Dutch really like. I was not fooled at all. I thought that it was very telegraphed that AJ Styles was going to turn at the end of the night. I was like, oh, he's doing the Mark Henry gimmick. But okay, Mark Henry had a speech that made me believe he was retiring. I don't think AJ Styles had that speech, and it felt very fake. And the whole time Cody's coming out, I'm like, Cody, it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because AJ, I don't know, it was very well done. So when they did the big hug and then, wow, I went, oh my God. It was good. I will give them credit. They sold me that one, and it was a good one. But if they sold it to me, they sold it to how many other people?
Hey,
millions. So okay, what is Cody and what's Cody and AJ going to do?
Well, first they got date Mike 22 in the chat who says phenomenal acting job by AJ Styles. Mark Henry would be so proud. And then on the other hand, you have Michael in the chat, Michael P, who says a recycled Mark Henry retirement angle. You could see it coming from a mile away. So
not, Michael.
Hey, I did. I agree with Michael. I did. But then you got Italian
didn't see it.
I didn't see it coming. Then you also got Alan. Alan says this shit show made me fall asleep. F Triple H and bless Butch Man come back to WWE. So I love the difference of opinions already in the chat.
Yeah. Anybody who disagrees with me needs to shut the hell up and get out. Or send me their address so I can go and just knock on your door when you open the door and I'll punch you a little bit. But other than that, we're okay. So,
all right, let's go over this AJ Styles angle to start the show off here. So we start off the show early.
It was like 3 weeks with it, right?
Yeah, it
was a great payoff for it.
We had the segment last week where AJ Styles went to Nick Aldis's office and asked for another opportunity at AJ Styles.
There's another guy that's doing a hell of a job.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of them, they just get run over. You don't run over Nick Aldis or the other guy. You just don't run over them. And that's the way it should be. They should be the bosses.
Nick Aldis very much comes off like NXT William Regal. And he just has that demeanor that just says he's like the school principal. He's in charge, basically, type of vibes to him. So we see him earlier in the night in the first segment, which we'll get to in a bit. But then later we see him basically going to the backstage area. He goes to his office where AJ Styles is waiting for him. He's in a nice little baby blue suit with a white shirt. Styles asks Aldis for some time tonight to address his future. Aldis asks AJ if there was something Styles wanted to tell him, and Styles said it's going to be hard enough to do it once, so he'd like to do it in the ring later tonight. The two men shake hands, and then we start getting the promotion that later tonight, AJ Styles will address his future. Then we get, we saw Aldis talking to LA Knight later in the night. LA Knight asks if AJ was going to retire, and Aldis said he didn't know. We also hear from Michin, who's interviewed, and she talks about how AJ hasn't talked much with the OC lately, but it seems like tonight all the rumors is going around, but she was soon interrupted. Then finally we get AJ walking backstage. He first gets approached by LA Knight, his former rival, the man he faced at WrestleMania, and LA Knight says if the rumors are true, respect, and he walks away. Then we see Styles and Cody Rhodes approaches him, and he shakes hands with Styles. They hug, they embrace.
A lot of whispering in this show.
Yeah, he whispers in Cody's ear.
I'm a big mark for whispers.
Then we see Styles. Finally, he's approached by Gallows and Anderson, who are waiting for him at the gorilla position. And Styles thanks them, and he says that they've been through so much together, so it's only right that they come to the ring with him. So AJ Styles comes to the ring. He looks forlorn in the ring, and he gets on the mic, and he says he's been thinking about having to go to the back of the line after losing to Cody Rhodes at Backlash, like Nick Aldis said. And he understood that. But he just couldn't bust his body anymore. He couldn't work his way back from the back of the line. Styles stopped himself mid-sentence to compose himself. He really so did very well. The crowd was cheering for him. Styles said that his son graduated high school this past week, and he got to be there. But then he was sitting there at the graduation party.
He said, how many have I missed? I said, how many times does a kid graduate from high school?
I think he meant the parties. Yes.
Okay, I got it.
But he said, how many of these have I missed? Styles says maybe he should stay at home and become a phenomenal father. Styles asked Gallows and Anderson to join him in the middle of the ring, and he said he couldn't have done it without them. They are better than friends. They are brothers. And he says, let's do it one more time. He puts up the 2 Sweet. They do the 2 Sweet. The 3 men hug. Styles is teary, almost holding back the tears.
Hey, I swear, I got a little emotional. I was going.
You seen him from the start. You seen him from the start, Dutch.
Come on, AJ. Don't do it. Go ahead. All right, continue.
But he says before he goes, though, he wanted to call out Cody Rhodes. So we hit Cody Rhodes music. Cody Rhodes walking out to the ring. At this point, I tweeted out, Cody, ... It's a trap. But he didn't listen. He comes out. He joins Styles in the ring. Styles says that he wanted to look Cody in the eyes and tell him that he had one of his greatest matches ever with Cody in France. He said the crowd was on fire and they tore it up. And he says if he was ever going to have one last match, that was it. That was technically not his last match because he versed Randy Orton in the first round of the King of the Ring tournament. But that's beside the point. Styles said that it was still the house that AJ Styles built, but he called Cody out here because he wanted to hand Cody the keys. Cody noted how the two have only exchanged one text message in the past. After Backlash, Cody messaged him to check on him, and he said that Styles responded back and said, "I'm fine, little bro." Cody says that
that brought the cascade of tears right there when he called him little bro. I was all emotional. Oh, go ahead.
It got you right in the feels.
It got me.
Right in the feels. So he says he notes to Cody that it's the house that AJ Styles built. He's going to hold it down, but he says that Styles has been there for everybody in the back, for himself. He's been a big bro to them all, so he wants to send them off in the right way. He raises Styles his hand. They go across the ring to each side, and I'm just like, man, y'all just making it too obvious as he's going to lay him out. And in a move everyone, except for Dutch and a couple of people in the chat, could see coming, Styles eventually clotheslines Cody. He attacks him in the ring. He takes him outside. Styles then takes off the ring steps, and he delivers a Styles Clash off the ring steps to the floor as Gallows and Anderson are holding back Nick Aldis and officials, and the show ends with Styles standing tall, having laid out Cody Rhodes, with Corey Graves apoplectic on commentary saying he's a son of a bitch for doing what he did to Cody.
But he didn't say the bitch part. He's a son of a. Okay.
cut it off there.
Very well done. So me. And now AJ's back in it. See how easy it is when you do it right? People were saying, well, it was actually a good thing to have him say, well, it's been a long time. I've been doing this forever, and it may be my time is up. And if you look at it in its totality, he's been there 20 years. He's been in wrestling 20 some odd years, he said. So he may want to get out of it, which is believable to a degree. Now, some of you really, really astute fans, like Sid, and who's that other guy here? He said, you may have saw it coming, but even if I saw it coming, it was still very well done.
Yeah, that's why.
Cosmic Joe Chronicles. Oh, get the hell out of here, Chronic Joe. He didn't fool him for a bit.
But that's what I said. I said they set it up. They set this up very well, and they sold it very well throughout the night. They built it up throughout the night with the different segments. They promoted it very well, and I thought that AJ Styles' performance was very well done, even though I don't think his speech was strong enough to convince the people who already knew this was an angle. So I thought that everything that the setup with the booking was very well done.
You froze on me. Yeah, he was fine. But see, AJ's mic work is not his strong point. Yeah. They got this across by the story, and it was good. We've already said that, though.
Yeah,
I want to hear some more people come in and say, you idiot. Everybody could see that coming half a mile away. Other guy said he saw it coming a mile away. But actually, I'm watching it, and I think I watch it the way a fan should watch it, I think. If you get surprised, enjoy it. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed that they got me in the moment. So, and now we're off and running. We got a whole new angle. AJ's a son of a, I won't say it, and now he's back in it. When we thought that he lost his match in France, so he's done. And they'd been talking that, he's been in it a long time. He may want to get out. And they did a great job on social media with this too. So they actually got you believing, other than the TV, that he may be getting ready to retire. I even had a thought. I said, what the hell will he do when he retires? Because I think he's got a couple of businesses anyway. But I said, I don't think he'd be happy being an agent. That's a pain in the ass too. But they even had me thinking that. But again, great angle and well executed.
So my question to you, Dutch, is do you think that we're getting this match in 2 weeks on June 15th at Clash at the Castle? Because I think that this angle is too big for AJ Styles to then turn around and lose in 2 weeks. So if you are going to do that matchup at Clash at the Castle, I think that's the perfect opportunity to do a non-finish. Like I wanted for Logan and Cody, I think you should do a non-finish because this is the first big angle that they've done really with Cody Rhodes and one of his challengers. Like the promo work between him and Logan Paul was really well done. They didn't do any like angles to really set up the first AJ Styles matchup. But this one was an effective angle that I don't want AJ to just turn around and lose in 2 weeks.
Well, I think they should call you up and say, Sid, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to do in this finish here with AJ and Cody? It's up to you, man. Whatever you want to do. I agree. I think they'll extend it a little bit, or they'll expand it. It's too good not to. But I think Clash at the Castle, they must have did they have a great match in France?
Yeah. Yeah, they tore it up in France. That was one of the better WWE main events. And Dave Meltzer, we love mentioning him. He gave it 5 stars, which is very rare for a WWE match.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't see the match, but knowing Cody and AJ, they're capable of doing it, and they did it. And the crowd was red hot. I did see the crowd, and sometimes that really helps the guys when they're that hot, because they get caught up in the action too. So while the guys are entertaining the fans are entertaining the guys. So when they're red hot, that's really, I wish that everybody could feel the rush when, say, you got a lot of attention on you and you go to the ring and those people are just really covering you up. They're loading you up, and you can feel the emotion, you can feel the electricity, you can feel the heat in the room. You just don't get that every day. You don't get that on a regular job, delivering mail or driving a truck. But going to that ring with, 30, 40, 50, up to 80,000 people at a WrestleMania, throwing that on you, that is quite a thrill. If you could bottle that and sell it, you'd be a millionaire overnight. So they should try that.
And you know that Scotland crowd is going to be phenomenal at Clash at the Castle. So I don't blame them at all running this back, AJ and Cody, because they tore it up so good in France. It makes sense for them to try to do the rematch, at Clash at the Castle, when you're going to have a great crowd that's going to be trying to outdo the France crowd at Backlash, and it's going to be even in a bigger place in Scotland. So it's going to be one hell of a show. But this is why I want it to be a non-finish, because I know that can't be the main event of Clash at the Castle, because Drew McIntyre is going for the World Heavyweight Championship in his home country. So that's the main event. So we finally have the opportunity for them to do the non-finish, because it's not the main event.
Mm-hmm. And they'll probably do it because I don't think they'll finish it there. He's already beat him one time.
Yeah.
If you go 2 in a row, that kind of doesn't do the angle any good. So I would go with a really, really good non-finish, and you can get by with it. I usually hate non-finishes, really, because there's no really into it. But if they leave it and with the story still intact, I think they got it. And if Drew McIntyre is on the main event, they'll have a finish in that one. So they're in good shape.
Yeah. I'm another one that I don't really like the non-finishes, but when it is useful, when it makes sense to me, I think it's the right time, and I think this is the right time to do it. We got a super chat donation, Dutch, from our good friend Cosmic Joe Chronicles, who says, "Hey Dutch, what type of a match should AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes should have at Clash at the Castle? What do you think?"
Oh, Cosmic Joe wants to be buddies now. See what I mean? He said, "Hey Dutch."
I know,
Hey,
screw
Joe,
me.
I don't know.
He don't even want to know
That's
what I
up to
think.
the creative team, but whatever they give these guys, believe me, they will make a hell of a spectacle out of it. AJ, and I knew him back, I had him in TNA. And AJ then was phenomenal. He really was. Because I remember him telling me one time, because WWE offered him a contract years before, or not years before TNA, but while he was with TNA, wanted him to go to, it wasn't NXT then, I don't know where it was, but he said they didn't want to pay him any money, and he said, "I'm not going." He said, "Hell, I can do this here on the independents and be home maybe 3 or 4 nights a week." I forgot what he said they offered him to start out. It's not much, about like $500 a week. He said, "Nah, screw that. I don't blame him." But if you saw him back then, you said, "Where did this guy learn this?" I mean, he was a natural, and I don't know if you can learn the stuff. He had to see it and study it and then do it, because he had great matches. Even if you go back now and look at TNA, some of their library, He was having great matches back then. And that's like damn near 20 years ago. So what years were that? 2002? Yeah, 22 years ago. He was having great matches then. So, and I don't know what kind of finish they're going to have. That's not my job. That's creative's job. But I'll tell you if I bought it after I see it. So we get any more donations? Come on, guys. Come off that wall.
So you were there right at the start of TNA. Like, what can you say about like early years AJ Styles? What did you like kind of like see in him to make him like why he became like pretty much the greatest of all time in TNA history?
It's one of those things you can spot. He stood out. He's not a big guy. He had short hair too. I hate his long hair, by the way. But he was just different. And you could tell it, even though he was green. And if you saw him in the ring, you say, I don't know, I think this guy's been in at least 5-6 years. But he'd been in about a year, maybe a year and a half. But he was doing these moves back then. What's that move he does? The spiral whatever he does?
The spinal tap.
But he can't do that anymore, he says.
Yeah. He's kind of past. He's past doing that now.
Okay, but physically he can't do it, he says, or he can't figure it out. It makes sense because his body told him exactly what to do. Now, his body is telling him, you might not need to do this anymore, so he can't do it. And it made all the sense in the world. But he's never been a strong talker. But as far as working in the ring, and he did a fabulous performance tonight. So
Absolutely.
So what was that last question I had here by?
He asked what type of match should they have at Clash at the Castle. I mean, to do a non-finish,
I think it'll be wide open. But if it's wide open, no DQ, you can't have a non-finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we'll see what they come up with. Is it for the title?
Yeah, obviously. That's what Styles is after. He wants another run with the championship. I think they should do a regular match for the rematch at Clash of the Castle so you can do the non-finish, and that sets up the stipulation match for Money in the Bank, since Money in the Bank is only 3 weeks after Clash at the Castle.
I'm going to go along with that. That's as good as answer as I can give.
I'm here to help. We got also in the chat.
I'm just here to figure it out for him.
We got also in the chat Chuck Berries with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Chuck Berries. We appreciate the support. He says, "Hey Dutch, remember when Paul Orndorff turned and laid out Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event back in the day?
That was in the Garden, right?
I believe so, or at least on the East Coast. I know it was on the East Coast. I'm not sure if it was in the Garden or not.
Did I see it? No. You know why I didn't see it? Hell, I was working somewhere. I was back in my working days. I missed all WWE back in the day because I was always working shows. I'd work seven nights a week sometimes. So a lot of their stuff I missed, and this is before the internet. And you just couldn't sign on the internet and see what they did. And Paul Orndorff, great guy, a tough sumbitch too, by the way. I mean, he always liked me. See, the tough guys I always got along with. I always made them my buddies, but I do remember that, and Orndorff was the type to get heat, and you had to keep it and sustain it and play off of it. So that was a good angle too.
Who is your Mount Rushmore, meaning your top 4 toughest guys that are your friends in wrestling?
Oh, the toughest guys? Haku's, he's number 1.
Oh, nice.
Haku, he beat shit on everybody. And Orndorff probably. And I'd have to think about the other two, but they're there. I'll tell you who's understated, underrated, is Rick Rude.
Hmm.
You ever hear that?
No, I haven't.
Rick Rude had a punch. When he straightened the punch out, guy didn't get up. Even the Road Warriors steered clear of him. And they were friends, but they didn't want any trouble with Rick Rude. Rick, great guy. So I helped break him in Memphis. He come up there and he was really, really green. So we'd go out there and bit by bit, he would get it. And the thing about these guys is when they're green, they're willing to be led. They're willing to learn. And so he came along, and then finally got to, and Jimmy Hart was managing Rude. And Jimmy Hart, when he got in there, then Jimmy Hart, he was a more instrumental one in getting all these guys into in WWE. Wasn't Jimmy Hart there before Lawler?
Yeah.
I think he got Lawler in there. Tell you the truth. And when and I remember one time Vince came to Memphis and was looking around, and he even had heat in Memphis. Remember, for years and years and years, he was a good guy on TV. But he got to Memphis, and they booing the hell out of him. And I think Lawler helped him a lot too. But I think Jimmy Hart got a lot of those guys into WWE because I think Vince trusted Jimmy, and because Jimmy could spot talent. And I think Jimmy was more instrumental than what people believe in getting guys into WWF.
Makes a lot of sense to me. But we mentioned earlier, AJ Styles' connection. I considered him the GOAT, the greatest of all time in TNA history. But that brings us to one of the big topics of the week, Dutch. WWE and TNA working with one another. As we saw at the Royal Rumble in January, TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace showed up, made her WWE debut in the Women's Royal Rumble matchup. And then 6 months later, we see on the May 28th edition of WWE NXT, the big surprise, the big introduction, the big reveal of Roxanne Perez's opponent for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Battleground next Sunday, June 9th. It was, in fact, TNA Knockouts champion once again, Jordynne Grace, stepping up to be the challenger. And then news has come out throughout the week from Fightful Select as well as PW Insider that this is just the start of more collaboration between WWE and TNA, and that we're going to see possibly some WWE stars showing up on TNA programming and possibly some more TNA talent showing up in WWE. What do you think about WWE and TNA working with one another? And could you have imagined back when you were working with TNA, WWE working with the company all these years later?
Hell no. Hell, they wouldn't even acknowledge of the existence of TNA. If you said TNA to Vince and he knew what it was, he would probably say, who? They never would acknowledge that another company existed, never did. So, and the whole thing is, while I was there, we kept trying to get WWE to notice the company. Well, they might have noticed it privately. They never noticed it publicly. And recently, TNA, they had a guy booking it and running it, Scott D'Amore. And he pushed for it and pushed for it and pushed for it. Because he was pushing for it back in the day. And then all of a sudden he's booking. They let him go and put another guy in there who's not even wrestling oriented, and they do the deal with WWE, the thing that he pushed for. And I never have understood what happened there. Do you ever hear what happened?
We all we know is that Scott tried to buy the company from Anthem, and I guess they didn't like that, and they just decided to kind of let him go a few months later, even though it seemed like he was going to be out the door because he wanted more control of TNA, but he wanted to stay on because he built such a connection with that roster. It was very weird. the whole fallout from that just happened in February. But yeah, and he started the ball in motion with what happened. They contacted Scott D'Amore to get Jordynne Grace at the Royal Rumble, but since that whole connection happened at the Royal Rumble, Anthem was able to follow up from what Scott D'Amore did and get this deal done to bring Jordynne Grace over. And she's making six figures for 3 appearances. The appearance on this past week's NXT, the appearance when she faces Stevie Turner on next week's NXT, and then the Battlegrounds performance. She's getting 6 figures for it. Probably as much as she's getting from TNA for the next how many other years she's under contract.
Yeah, I don't know if she's getting 6 figures for a whole year for TNA, but hey, I think it's a good thing and Jordan, what's her name? Jordan or Jordan?
Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace.
She'll fit right in with WWE. She looks like a WWE talent already. So she'll fit right in with that girls division, that women's division. When did they stop calling the girls divas? When did they stop doing that?
For WWE, they stopped doing that back in like 2016 when they got rid of the WWE Divas Championship and replaced it with the Women's Championship.
You froze on me. I didn't hear what you said.
I said the WWE, when they got rid of the WWE Divas Championship in 2016, they stopped referring to the women as divas. Okay. But Impact and TNA, they refer to their women's division as the Knockouts, as you know.
Yeah. That was a Dixie Carter invention. She came up with the name. I will give her credit with that. But whose idea was it to start the girls? Me. And I met such pushback on that. Like, nobody wants to see the girls. I said, no, I think, yeah, they may. Oh, my God, this, that, and the other. And even Vince, Vince always got these crazy ideas. Some of them pretty good, really, but he wasn't biting on it. And so I said, all right. So we started it, and about 2 months later, they were responsible for the high ratings. I mean, for TNA, for Impact at the time. And I've said this before. I had Gail Kim on my podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And I remember I worked an angle with her and Amazing Kong. And they ended up, I put them in a main event before WWE did it. A girls' main event. And for us, for TNA, they did a 3.4, which was massive back in the day. And they went about 30 minutes in the main events. And I couldn't believe the rating they did. And I've reminded Gail of that. So, and Gail, she's back working for them. She works for with the girls, and she's doing a great job.
Yeah, so, she's doing great work. She's even doing some on-screen stuff.
Listen, this is unnatural. We're putting over everybody. I mean, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that positive shit.
Well, I do want to ask you. I want to ask you a question that I was asked earlier this week, Dutch. What do you think WWE gains out of a collaboration or partnership with TNA? Because obviously TNA is going to gain, exposure and being put on a big stage, and it helps people to probably, circulate back to their show on Access TV every Thursday. But what does WWE gain out of this partnership?
It helps the business. It helps the business overall. See, Vince was afraid to even acknowledge another existence of another company. Triple H is not bothered by that. They could actually go on their show and announce Impact and Ring of Honor and this and MCW and whatever. It wouldn't affect WWE at all. Wouldn't hurt them. It may help the other companies. That's what we need. We need cooperation between these companies. So when, say, if somebody's watching TNA or Impact and they see somebody, then they go to WWE. Well, it's not cold turkey. They're not just showing up and people have just a little bit of background on them before they get there. Vince would never do that. And he was adamant. He was not going, he wouldn't even mention their name at all. And so he's getting investigated again, you know that.
Yes, we'll talk about that at the end of the show. We do got some super chat donations.
That's what I want to talk
about. I know you do. That's why we're going to save it for the end. Ozzy in the chat who says the kiss heard around the world, Liv and Dom. What did you think about that? And the fact that it was cut off for us in the U.S.
It was cut off in the U.S.
Yeah, they cut the feed early on USA Network for Liv and Dom's kiss.
Well, son of a bitch. But I think that's good. That is really good. Because there's nothing better than a romance angle or a man and woman going. And Liv and Dom, they got a little chemistry if you look at them. Because Dom went to kind of help Becky, right?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. He opened the door and then who was running around the ring? Braun Strowman. And he hit him and he hit the door, and that's the old championship wrestling from Texas cage match when they slammed the door. Yeah. Who just slammed the door on whose head? You remember that?
I don't know.
But they got that the door on the guy. That's why he lost. Yeah. But anyway, I'll have it by the end of the show. But she kissed him for helping him, and it made sense. And he looked surprised. And why was it cut off in the States, I wonder?
I don't know. I don't know.
We're being censored. Now, where did you see it? Where did you see it?
I saw it on social media after the show. Oh. Yeah. Well, we also got another super chat donation here from Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will, one of our regulars over on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. He says, WWE working with TNA and maybe Marigold. We see you, Triple H. We know what's up, trying to build that women's division. LOL. I mean, it helps. It helps having talent like Jordan Grace coming in, working with Marigold, where Julia is about to start up with WWE very soon, probably this summer. So, yeah, they're bringing in a lot of talent, and it's helping out WWE to feel exciting. This was probably the most buzzworthy episode of NXT in a while, where you also had former AEW star Ethan Page show up at the end of the show, where Vic Joseph almost said, he said, "That's Ethan Page. We saw him last on A," and then he got cut off by Booker T, which was very well done as well.
Mm-hmm. Who was the guy that was wrestling? He's an Olympic gold medalist, and he just got cut.
Well, he didn't just get cut. He got cut a couple of weeks ago, probably a month ago. Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson, and he just signed. What is he doing
now? He was on the Olympic team or something?
No, he just signed with the NFL's Buffalo Bills.
That's what it is. He's going to play football. So I saw his picture and I went, I know this guy. So is he a football player too? I guess he is.
I guess he's making that transition now. We saw Brock do the same thing after his run with WWE was over.
So what was wrong with that guy? You just didn't, no personality?
Yeah, he didn't have the charisma to be a professional wrestler, and he was just progressing too slow. So that's why WWE let him go.
All right, that's good. I'll accept that. Yeah. Let's talk about the show. Let's finish this up here.
Yes, we're going to finish up the show now. We started off the show with Nia Jax, Queen of the Ring coronation.
I love her now.
Nick Aldis in the ring, and he says no better feeling than when one of your top draft picks come through in the clutch. From there, Aldis welcomed Nia Jax to the ring. Once Nia was in the ring, Aldis said the floor was hers. She then put on her crown to massive amounts of boos. She took the microphone and the crowd chanted, "You suck." Jax said she wanted everyone to get their facts straight, and it was a fact that she was their queen of the ring. Jax said as queen, she gets a title shot at SummerSlam, and Jax then commanded the WWE Women's Champion Bayley to come down to the ring. Bayley comes out. She's walking down the entranceway when Piper Niven and Dutch's favorite Chelsea Green ran out. Piper attacks Bayley from behind. She did most of the attacking, throwing her into the barricade, throwing her into the steps. She then puts her in the ring. Nevin then delivered a splash to Bayley as Nia Jax looked on, kind of confused. Then Chelsea Green got on the mic, and I like how they're using the Chelsea and Piper Niven act right now, where Piper is doing all the work, but then Chelsea can just talk her up and be the mouthpiece. So Chelsea says that Jax shouldn't be worried about facing Bayley because by the time SummerSlam comes around, the new WWE Women's Champion will be her buddy, Spicy P herself, Piper Niven. And Jax said that she didn't give a damn who the champion will be because she will annihilate whomever it is, no matter what. Jax leaves, and we see that they're really setting up. They're really putting the foot on the pedal as far as building up Piper Niven versus Bayley for Clash at the Castle in Piper's home country of Scotland. What did you think about this opening segment here?
I liked it. I like Chelsea Green because I know her. Got a lot of personality. Her and Piper fit together. Piper does the work. Chelsea does the entertainment value of it. So it's working for them. And I would be interested in seeing Piper and Nia Jax have a match just to see what they do. Two big girls, I don't know. Maybe it may be good. That's why we watch wrestling, right? We don't know. But I'd be willing to take a chance to see it.
So backstage, we see Bayley is being attended to by the trainer. Naomi walks in and asks Bayley if she could fight tonight, and Bayley says she could. So a tag team match seemed like it was imminent. Then we go backstage. Blair Davenport makes her first appearance on screen on SmackDown. She's talking to Nick Aldis in his office. Naomi walks in demanding her tag team match for later on, and Davenport is angry and tells off Naomi. She says, "You may not know who I am now, but you will learn," and she storms off. Naomi then gets the word from Aldis that the match is official. Davenport says that she will eventually know her, and Aldis makes the match official. And then LA Knight walks into Aldis' office. This is where he asks about AJ Styles retiring, but then he also says he's looking for Logan Paul, and he couldn't find him. So Knight and Aldis decide to talk as we go to commercial break. When we come back from commercial break, Knight is approached by Kayla Braxton in the hallway outside of Nick Aldis' office. She asks him what him and Aldis talked about, and Knight says there wasn't much to talk about. It was only that Logan Paul wasn't there this week. Knight spoke to the camera and said that he was looking for Logan Paul because he wanted the U.S. Championship. Carmelo Hayes then walked into the fray. Hayes mistakenly called. He said that, "Oh, you want to face LA," and LA Knight, funny, the funny response of saying, "Oh, if I wanted to fight myself, I'd just look in the mirror," basically calling out Carmelo for the botch line. Carmelo talks his trash and says that when Logan Paul eventually answers you with all your red messages, let him know that I'm the guy that he really wants to face. So it seems like they were setting up LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes. But man, Carmelo Hayes with the flub up and then LA Knight's quick-witted response, I was just like, I love you, Melo, but I don't think you're ready for going back and forth with LA Knight right now.
Now, see, even that interview that you found such glee in watching, there's chemistry between these guys. So once you get chemistry, if you feel it, everybody else feels it, and they can do a lot with it. I've seen a lot of guys that their matches were just so-so, but their chemistry was so strong that no matter what they did, people were all over it. So, and that's LA Knight's strong point. He has a good presence about him. He has a little bit of that Stone Cold swagger about him. Let me talk at you here. And the people like that. So, and I had him in TNA too. I didn't have him. He was just there. But But he could talk. He could really, really talk then. So, and how old is the guy now? He's like 45, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think he's in his early 40s right now. LA Knight. I think he's like 40, 41.
Yeah, and he spent a lot of time on these lesser companies. I don't know what kind of money he made, but he had dedication. He wanted to be a wrestler. So he hung in there long enough till he got with WWE, and that's where the money is. So my hat's off to him.
So let's close the loop on the women's division here. We saw highlights from King and Queen of the Ring, where Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair retained the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Candice is apparently hurt as Indy Hartwell approaches Cargill and Belair. In response, Cargill and Belair essentially told Hartwell to go away, but that sets up Jade Cargill versus Indy Hartwell. Kayla Braxton, like I said earlier, interviewed Meechin about Styles possibly retiring. Meechin's about to kind of tell what she thinks, but Nia Jax interrupts, and Meechin wonders why people are talking about Styles when they should be talking about Nia Jax. Jax told Meechin to not step to her, but she wouldn't know it as Meechin stepped to her, and that sets up Nia Jax versus Meechin. Not next week, but we'll see when that happens. And then we had the tag team matchup. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Naomi and Bayley. I thought this was a pretty fun matchup. In the end, though, it was Piper Niven who completely just takes Bayley out on the outside. She then comes in and delivers a senton to the back of Naomi as she's pinning Chelsea Green, and then lays out Chelsea Green's limp body over Naomi to get the win for them. And it, like I said, they're building up Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, and it seems like we're getting Piper versus Bayley at Clash at the Castle. What did you think about the tag match?
Well, after the finish, I was watching Chelsea, and she was like, she did it all by herself. And oh God, she just jumps at you because, and she's always been that way. They're not teaching her to do this. That's her, and it works. And now, who is she married to? What's his name?
Matt Cardona. I actually got to interview him earlier today over on Fightful.
Really good guy.
Yeah.
So, and SmackDown right now, they're kicking on all cylinders. Every segment they had tonight fired up because you can see they can go somewhere with all these segments. How many matches did they have? 5 tonight?
I think it was like 4 or 5. We also had Tommaso Ciampa going one-on-one with Austin Theory. This seems to be building up DIY versus A-Town Down Under. The only thing I didn't like about this one is that the finish kind of teased that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are going to break up, as basically Waller starts yelling at Wade Barrett, saying that Theory is only relevant because of the Grayson Waller rub, which Theory hears and he looks confused, which leads to Ciampa rolling him up to get the win. I like that they're building up the tag team title match between DIY and A-Town Down Under, but it feels kind of soon to tease a breakup with A-Town Down Under.
I'm agreeing with you. I would go a little farther with these guys before I'd break them up. But we have learned WWE, they will do things a long time before they finally pull the trigger. And when they pull the trigger, people are ready for it. So they may leave it alone for the next 3 weeks, or may leave it alone for the next 2 months, and then go back to it. So they've had trouble. So that's in our minds anyway, and it'll work. So, but I wouldn't break them up anytime soon. They're actually too good of a team, and they fit too well together. But I would take my time. Of course, they're noted for that now. Triple H, he takes his time. That's what you should do. Take your time to the people almost begging you, do it, do it, do it. See, when I was booking Puerto Rico, I would draw them out as long as I could. Even Dave Meltzer, there's that word again. That's that bad word we don't like to say. Even Dave Meltzer, he said, Dutch, he don't ever pull the trigger on nothing. But when I did pull the trigger, it was ready. And that's when we go in those stadiums, we do 18,000 people. And that's when tickets were like $3, $4. because you in Puerto Rico, one thing, so people don't make the money they make in the States, but it would be full. So the interest was there. So yeah, but A-Town down, I would stretch that out for as long as I could without being not to drive it into the ground, but to make the point.
We also had Andrade El Idolo going up against Apollo Crews. A nice little 7-minute matchup here as Andrade picked up the win with the message. We had Angel Garza, who was at ringside. He caused a little bit of a distraction to give Andrade the victory in this one. After the matchup, though, Santos Escobar walked out and appeared to appreciate Andrade. It looked like they were going to welcome him into Legado del Fantasma, but Andrade just walked past them after earlier in the day he turned down an invitation to join the faction. And then later on in the night, Angel Garza approached Andrade, telling him that he made him look bad to Legado. And out of nowhere, Apollo Crews showed up and attacked Angel, and that leads to Angel versus Apollo Crews on next week's show. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's okay, but at least there's a reason for the match. Now they have a reason. And they had a good match. They did.
Yeah. All right. And then finally on this show, you see, we wrapped it up in less than an hour. See, we had the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa was backstage with the rest of the Bloodline. He was giving orders to Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Paul Heyman walked in and tells Solo that he's been doing a lot of thinking about how he can better serve Solo. Heyman talked about how Roman Reigns preserved the family through acts of violence, but he says he sees Solo recruiting a lot of violent men into the Bloodline, but he doesn't see a lot of strategy at all. Heyman said the strategy has to be that when Roman Reigns comes back, they have Cody Rhodes in check. Solo said that we have Cody in check, and he doesn't even know it. Heyman asked Solo, who is we?
Mm-hmm.
And then we hear the music of Kevin Owens. He comes out to the ring. Solo tells Heyman that he has to go out there and fix it. And it leads to, in my opinion, the best segment of the night. This was absolutely great television with the Bloodline here, as you have Owens sat on top rope in the corner. He thanks the crowd. He said last week he went all the way to Saudi Arabia to make sure he had Randy Orton's back. He says over the last few years, Orton has had Owens back, and Owens offered a side comment about Orton didn't really lose the King of the Ring finals because his shoulder wasn't down. As Owens said, was speaking, we hear Paul Heyman say, ladies and gentlemen. He walks out alone without music, and he was out there to talk to him because he feels like there is mutual interest he can serve. Heyman got huge "We want Roman" chants once again. Heyman says that he didn't think there was a person who wanted Roman there more than Heyman wanted Roman there. Heyman said that Reigns has great respect for Owens, and anything they went through together was because Roman Reigns viewed Owens as a threat to his championship. Heyman said that Solo, though, has no respect for Kevin Owens. Solo has been recruiting bloodthirsty thugs looking for an excuse to take Owens out. Heyman told Owens that if he keeps calling out Solo's name, those guys are going to do something really bad about it. Heyman asks Owens to back off the Bloodline, and Owens asks Heyman if he really is trying to help Owens, or Owens asks Heyman how he could think Owens could even trust Paul Heyman. This is what Paul Heyman always does. He had Brock Lesnar before, then he had Roman Reigns. Now that Roman Reigns lost the title, who does he go with? He goes with Solo. He wasn't falling for it. He says, Owens says that he believed Heyman was still pulling all the strings. He asks Heyman if Heyman wants to make sure everyone fears Solo and his guys, but he says that the Bloodline gave Owens everything they had. Owens is still standing here, though, but he says the Bloodline is Roman, Jay, and Jimmy, guys that he respects. He says Solo and his new guys, that's not the Bloodline. He says he doesn't respect them. He promised that he will keep fighting those guys until they are gone from his world, and this is his world Fired up, angry Kevin Owens is the best babyface version of KO. He was great here. He said he didn't want or need Heyman's help. Heyman said maybe he's not trying to help Owens, but instead he's trying to save him. He referenced their kids and mocked the idea of himself ever redeeming himself. Heyman said, "Oh, let's not listen to the Hall of Fame wise man. Let's not listen." He said, "Why wouldn't anybody listen to me?" And he accidentally hits Kevin Owens as he's going apoplectic. He's so incensed that no one is listening to him about this bloodline. The crowd starts chanting holy S word as they bleed it out. And then Owens steps forward towards Heyman. He looks like he's about to attack. When the music of Solo Sikoa hits, we get him, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa come down. But then the Street Profits even the odds. We get a brawl with Kevin Owens and Solo fighting through the crowd. And that sets up the Bloodlines, GOD, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa versus the Street Profits. They got 12 and a half minutes of TV time. Really long matchup here, but I thought it was a solid, very fun matchup with the Tonga and Tama really showing their physical style in this matchup. And I thought that the Street Profits made good foils for them. And in the finish, it was the Street Profits with Montez Ford hitting the frog splash, but he walks right into Tama, hitting the flatliner for the 1-2-3 for the victory here. Good matchup, good showcase for the GOD, but overall, this was a great night for the Bloodline as that promo segment with Owens and Heyman elevated the story that's going on right now. Dutch, what did you think?
Well, you got two good talkers that have a little bit of a story already, and they executed that well. I think the match was a little long, but it accomplished what they set out for it to do, and it was a good night for WWE tonight. Good night, all the way around. The only thing that made it better, if I'd been in that match somewhere, it made it a lot better. People
Get
go,
yourself
what
over.
the hell's he doing? But it was a good night. It was a good night.
You just want that one promo. You want that one promo exchange with Paul Heyman that you should have had 10 years ago when he stole Cesaro from you.
Oh, yeah. And they stole Cesaro. And I asked him, well, wait a minute. Why did they take Cesaro from me and Jack and put him with Heyman? And Heyman said, to get him over, to get some heat on him. 3 weeks later, then they took him from Heyman. And I said, oh, boy, I got a lot of heat on him, didn't it? So, but it was their company. And when you work for somebody, they make the decision. So good luck. I wish it worked out for them.
Dutch, that brings us to a close on another edition of
Already?
Smack Talk. But we finished SmackDown. I did want to give you an opportunity to talk about the big news from this week as far as Vince McMahon goes, as his lawsuit with Janelle Grant has been paused by their legal team because the U.S. government wants to do an investigation on Vince McMahon. It was reported in WWE and TKO's financial reportings that the federal government went and sieged some paperwork and other files from WWE headquarters last year. And now we see the fallout from that is now they're doing a proper investigation and putting a pause on the lawsuit. What do you think about that decision being made?
So I'm reading the newspaper. Oh, yeah, Trump did this and they did that in New York. Now the jury's out and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, whatever. Then I say, oh, Vince McMahon. His name just jumps at you. Like, what happened to Vince? So I'm reading it, right? Like, oh, God. So it looks like you said, they have paused the lawsuit, or they've stayed the lawsuit. That's the legal term, I think. They've stayed the lawsuit of Janelle Grant against Vince while this investigation is underway. Now, I don't have a legal mind. I don't know why they stayed that. I guess they can't get any kind of procedures to go forward till they do this investigation. So what are they looking for in that investigation?
I don't know. There's a lot of different stuff because of Vince with the other stuff besides Janelle Grant, with all the people that he signed NDAs for and all the money that he paid out. But because WWE is a publicly traded company and TKO is a publicly traded company, I think that is the reason why the US government can even do this investigation.
The U.S. government recently, they can do investigations on anybody for accounting figures.
Yeah.
That's what they got Trump for, accounting. That's what they got Vince for, accounting. So we'll see where it goes. But now it's taken a different turn. So, and I hope it takes some more turns, because Vince McMahon, that whole thing, we could talk for hours on it and not be done with it. So we'll see where that leads, and hopefully, Vince could be going to jail too. Wait a minute.
We we shall see, and of course, we'll talk more about that on next week's show for sure. And we got a lot else to talk about because you got WWE contracts expiring every week, so we'll have more to talk about next Friday. But Dutch, let everybody know where they could follow you until then, where they could see your great podcast. The floor is yours.
Okay, I got a podcast on YouTube, Storytime with Dutch. We talk about everything with my co-host, James. Romeo is his name. Romero, I'm sorry, Romeo. James Romero. And it's got 118,000 subscribers. It's growing a little bit every week. If I could get it up to 125, I would be very, very happy. So, and if you watch the podcast or you tune into it, very little cursing, bad language. Your kid could watch it, but I don't like to listen to podcasts with a lot of cursing in it anyway. Just kind of say, listen, just talk to me. You don't have to say GD and MF or every other word. I mean, if I want to hear that, hell, I'd go outside, listen to people on the street. But anyway, Storytime with Dutch on YouTube. Come over and see us. Subscribe while you're there. And you can find me on X at Dirty D Mantell, and on Instagram as I don't know. I got to get all this more simple. It's Dirty Dutch Mantell on Instagram, and just keep looking around and you'll find me in different places.
Yes, follow Dutch on all those platforms. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Hill SP3. You can follow my podcast, True Hill Heat. That is TrueHealHeat on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms. And check out the True Hill Heat flagship podcast on the True Hill Heat Wrestling YouTube channel tomorrow, live at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk about this weekend wrestling from WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and beyond. We cover it all. We'll talk about the WWE and TNA collaboration, Adam Copeland being injured, Becky Lynch and Chad Gable's contracts expiring. Check us out live, 11:05 a.m.
Did you see Adam Copeland when he got hurt?
I knew he got hurt on that spot as soon as it happened, because I was like, why did you go feet first off a cage?
Why would you do that?
He should have just went for the splash.
No kidding.
He just went for the splash.
Hell, his damn feet hit his knees his head hit his knees. He bent so much. Now, what did he injure?
He had a fractured tibia.
What is tibia?
I think that's basically like the ankle. I think it's like the ankle area, ankle calf area.
And he never extended. He just went straight down.
Went down because I think it's because he got nervous as he made the jump and he couldn't decide what he wanted to do. He should have went splash, but he decides like in midair, I'm going for the elbow drop, and that's why he went feet first.
But he never turned.
Yeah.
He just kept going feet down. And I saw that and I went, what in the elf was he thinking? So he's hurt. But that's that AEW stuff for you. I think they're jinxed over there. So But
Well,
he
it
should,
seems like
he
all
should know
it seems
better.
like all of wrestling is jinxed because there's a lot of injuries in WWE, AEW. Man, it's like injury central with both companies.
Well, you're not supposed to get hurt. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be able to perform. Look at your great performers. They don't get hurt. Look at AJ Styles. I've never known him hurt. You know what? You know how many matches that guy's had? How many matches do you think he's had in 20 years?
It's like 10,000 or something like that. Because he worked TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling before he even goes to WWE. So yeah. But yes, check us out. We'll talk about the injury. We'll talk about everything. True Hill Heat Flash Hit Podcast. Me and Dutch will be back with you next Friday. Hopefully, Rick Ucino will be rejoining us for the show. Shouts out to Rick, as always, our third member of the team. But for Dutch Mantell, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3, and this has been Smack Talk. We